Good evening, everybody. Thank you very much for joining us this evening. I think we'll make a nice prompt start, 7:30. So yeah, thank you very much for joining me this evening for another Suckler Club webinar edition. This year, predominant focus is on the kind of for those spring calving suckler herds. The service period is kind of fast approaching, what with calving either done, nearly done, halfway through, still in progress. Joining me this evening, won't speak on their behalf, but we've got Sarah Pick from AHDB and Charlie Beattie. So Sarah and Charlie, do you want to quickly introduce yourselves?
Yeah, good evening, everyone. So my name is Sarah Pick and I work in the Beef and Lamb Knowledge Exchange team at AHDB.
Perfect.
Hiya, so I'm Charlie Beattie and I am a mixed beef, sheep and arable farmer from Warwickshire.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Okay, so the kind of the rough plan, the rough agenda then for tonight, we'll try to keep it to about 45 minutes. I'll do a kind of a brief introduction to Suckler Club and what that is, a bit of background behind Breeder for those who are not fully aware of what we are and what we're doing. And then I'll hand over to Sarah, who will do a presentation for us, just expanding on the kind of the technical side of the service period and the things that we should all be kind of looking out for, and any particular KPIs we should be striving to achieve. I'll then kind of follow and do a bit of a demo of the Breeder app, and then we'll bring Charlie in and we'll have a bit of a discussion towards the end. Please ask questions throughout. We'll probably, just to keep on time, we'll probably pick them up during the discussion. So again, the discussion's not just for the three of us to have a chat. You know, we'll pick up your questions and expand on them then. So if I get my thing working, okay. So first of all, then, just a really quick kind of brief background to Breeder and who we are. So for those of you who aren't fully aware, Breeder is just over 2 years old. We launched into the UK market at the beginning of lockdown, with the aim of supporting livestock producers in helping to drive efficiencies and profitability through the capture of on-farm data. So we provide a mobile and a web-based app, which enables livestock farmers to capture on-farm information, bits of data, and what we do from that data. So data is really at the core of our business. And off that, we can provide this kind of trifecta of services. So the first one is performance. So we take that data, we do all the number crunching, and we provide those kind of performance analytics back to you. We then also, through the platform, have a trading capability. So farmers can buy and sell animals to other breeder users through our network. And the idea is, because you are capturing that data, you are improving your transparency. So you can buy animals, you can see their previous medicine records, weight gain, breeding figures, all of this kind of stuff. So again, it's improving that transparency. We also can help farmers set up their own integrated supply chains as well, so with that movement of data. So if you're looking to find farmers to buy and sell from, again, we've got a team on the ground that can help you find that. And then thirdly, a recent product that we've launched is effectively what you are doing is, when you are capturing data against your animals, what you are doing is you are proving their worth and you are increasing their value. So what that enables us to do is it enables us to provide you a cash flow service by providing you advance payment on those animals. So we effectively buy those animals, and we can help ease your cash flow over a certain period. So, you know, to help you either reinvest in the business or, you know, just simply pay for, you know, feed bills or whatever it is. So, but again, that service is, you know, really hinges on that data capture. So out of those kind of three services, then really the main one that we'll be focusing on is the performance side of things. So that really kind of leads me on to introducing and explaining a little bit about Suckler Club. So Suckler Club it's a breeder-led initiative. It's something that we launched kind of back earlier in January time. And the idea is to, again, it's to provide that support mechanism predominantly, obviously, to our suckler farmers, and with the idea of providing them with a greater understanding and a deeper insight into the fertility status of their herd. And the way that we're doing that is, you know, exemplifying by tonight is we're trying to bring, you know, the industry together. So, you know, breeder can provide that tool for capturing the data and getting the analytics, but it's the technical expertise from people like Sarah who can help us to understand, you know, what these numbers mean and what we can do to improve them. And then it's, you know, it's engaging with our farmers. So, you know, Charlie is a perfect example of that. You know, she's coming along the breeder journey, and she'll be sharing her experiences and giving us a bit of an insight into what she's you know, aiming to achieve from Suckler Club. So so that's kind of Suckler Club in a nutshell. How does it work? So what we've done with Suckler Club is we've based it off a breeding season, which is kind of made up of 4 distinct periods. Farmers can join at any time. And what we do is we try to provide guidance on each of those 4 distinct periods. So it's what tasks should farmers be focusing on? What are the key kind of KPI targets that they should be looking to achieve? Where are they based at now? You know, what's the importance and value of them? And then, you know, how can farmers capture that data, find out where their own KPIs lie, and then, you know, importantly is, right, this is where I'm at, this is what I've got to achieve. Well, how can I do that? So how can I improve? And as part of those, the resources that we are providing as part of Suckler Club, one of those is obviously doing webinars. We've got a number of blogs. But if I kind of exemplify here, so like I said, this is the service period that we're focusing on here is one of the 4, followed by the PD, pregnancy diagnosis, calving, and then finally weaning. So that's our 4 key distinct periods. And what that has done and what we have developed here is this is our own breeding calendar. So again, as you can see, it's just divided up into those distinct periods, and it just gives a brief overview of you know, the task and the KPIs and the features in the app. So if you haven't received one already, when you sign up for breeder and you know, you state on your sign up form that you are a suckler producer, you will get one of these calendars in a big A2 format. There is a spring calving herd and an autumn calving herd equivalent. So the idea is, you know, that will be sent to you in the post when you sign up, and you can stick it on your office wall, and it'll be there for reference. So but like I said, the purpose of tonight is we're going to be focusing on the service period. For those of you who missed our previous webinars, we've already done one on calving, and we have also done one on PD and weaning, a joint one. So if you know, can share links around to them later, but you know, you can catch up on them. But yeah, tonight we'll be focusing on the service period. So that was a bit of a whistle-stop tour. I can probably catch my breath now, but I will gladly pass over to Sarah, who will kind of kick off proceedings with her presentation tonight.
Thanks, Chris. Good evening, everyone. As I mentioned earlier, my name is Sarah Pick and I work for HDB in the Beef and Lamb Knowledge Exchange team, and I'm going to be talking about the service period and herd fertility for the next 5 or 10 minutes. Next slide, please, Chris. So during the service period, there are 3 main objectives, and I'm going to talk about each of them throughout the presentation. So the first is to breed from bulls with the best genetics that you can afford and who are right for your system. The second is to only allow your best heifers to enter the herd, and we'll discuss how to identify these in a minute or so. And finally, it's to keep the breeding period to a minimum to ensure a tighter calving period and an even batch of calves. Next slide, please, Chris. So let's discuss the first objective, optimum bull selection. Now, really what you want to do is to ensure that your bull is fit for purpose for what you're trying to achieve in your system. So are you wanting to produce cattle to finish or to breed your heifer replacements from? Are you wanting him to do a bit of both? Well, these are all the questions that you should be asking yourself to ensure your bull is what you need. So how can you actually tell if the bull you have is fit for purpose? Well, one of these bulls on screen, we can see that they're both Simmental bulls. One of them is a heifer breeder who produces females which calve easily and have good milk. The other produces calves with strong growth rates who have good carcass traits. But which one is which? Next slide, please, Chris. So it's quite difficult to tell just by looking at them, isn't it? And this is really where estimated breeding values, or EBVs, come into play. They provide us with a really good indication of the bull's genetic merit. Don't get me wrong, visual assessment should always remain an integral part of bull selection, because after all, we don't want bulls who are lame or have small testicles, for example. So EBVs help us make informed decisions rather than just relying on outward appearance, which can be affected by age, by feeding and management regime. So assessing a bull's EBVs should therefore be an essential part of the bull selection process. So if we go back to the screen and we've got the bull in front of us again, we can see it's much easier to identify that this bull is really fit for breeding your replacements from, because as we can see on his graph, he's got good calving ease, he's got a good scrotal size, which is always important, and he's producing calves that have a low birth weight as well. Next slide, please, Chris. So the EBVs for all pedigree bulls are available on their pedigree website. Just type in the name of the bull or his ear tag into the Breed Society database and his information will be there. So the EBVs do have slightly different names depending on which breed you're looking at, but it really is easy to tell which ones kind of they are relating to. So if we are wanting to breed calves to finish, the EBVs we need to look at are calving ease direct, growth rate, eye muscle area, fat depth, and also the terminal index. In comparison, if we're wanting to our bull to breed replacement heifers from, we should consider calving ease direct, calving ease daughters, mature cow weight, scrotal size, and maternal or self-replacing index. And make sure they all have good accuracies as well. Next slide, please, Chris. So let's move on to talk about females and in particular heifer selection. So retaining a heifer is a really big decision because after all, she's likely to be in the herd for hopefully 7 years plus, and therefore can have a big impact during this time. To ensure we only keep the best, we should ideally only keep those born in the first 3 weeks of the calving period. This is because research has found that those heifers born in the first 20 days of the calving season have higher weaning weights, pre-breeding weights, and also higher pregnancy rates than those born later. It's also likely that those heifers born early are out of your most fertile cows in the herd, so you're indirectly selecting for fertility as well. We should also look at temperament. So don't be keeping any flighty heifers. Not only are they a health and safety risk, but studies have also shown that flightier cows have poorer conception rates and also wean lighter calves. And it's also always important to look at mum, assess her fertility, her udder and her temperament. We also don't want to be keeping heifers from cows which consistently require assistance to calve. And finally, when calving at 2, make sure she's at least 65% of her mature weight at breeding. If you don't tend to weigh your cows, then you can get a good indication of your mature cow weight by having a look at a few of your cull cow sheets. Next slide, please, Chris. So one of the KPIs listed on the breeder suckler calendar is the length of your breeding period. It is recommended that the breeding period is under 9 weeks, with heifers being shorter at between 6 to 8 if possible. And this is for a number of reasons, which I did cover off in the last webinar, so I'll just zoom through these. So it's simpler management of cows and heifers. You also get an even batch of calves and increased weaning weights. There's also less labour because it's not as spread out, they're not dragging on forever. And you also encounter fewer calf health problems. So we all know the risks of housing older animals with younger animals. And finally, it means that those poor performing cows can't hide, which leads to improved fertility of the herd, which we know is so important in order to make a profit out of suckler cows. Next slide, please, Chris. And I kind of just wanted to finish my presentation by just giving some top tips around management during the breeding season. So my first top tip for breeding success is to ensure cows and heifers are in the right body condition score pre-calving. I know I sound like a stuck record, but thin cows will be extremely difficult to get back in calf to calve within 365 days. It's even trickier with heifers because they really have a lot going on. So they're still growing, they're lactating, and then we're expecting them to reproduce as well. So it's really important they are in body condition score 3 at calving, because it's extremely difficult to get the weight back on them after they've calved. Heifers also naturally have a longer postpartum interval, which is the time between calving and coming back into bulling. It's actually 18 days longer than cows, so nearly 3 weeks longer, which of course exaggerates the problem further. So make sure nutrition is correct pre-calving. Post-calving, unfortunately, is too late. So my next top tip is around management during the service period. So please try to keep management consistent with no changes to nutrition or environment, ideally 6 weeks before and 6 weeks after the breeding season. And this is because 75% of embryonic loss actually occurs during the first 42 days after conception. And this is because it takes around 42 days for that fertilized egg to implant in the uterus. So any dietary changes during this time can alter that uterine environment, which results in a higher risk of embryo loss. And finally, we've kind of focused a lot on the cow, but my last top tip is to ensure your bulls are in good working order. Ask your vet to give them a bull breeding soundness exam, which often includes a feel of the testicles, as well as a check of sperm count. This should be done at least 10 weeks before the breeding season starts. So if there are any problems, you can come up with that all-important plan B. Next slide, please, Chris. So that's really been a whistle-stop tour of the service period and herd fertility. I look forward to answering your questions during the discussion.
That's brilliant. No, thank you very much, Sarah. Yeah, please, any questions that you've got for Sarah, fire them in, and we'll pick them up in the discussion later. Yeah, no, thank you again, Sarah. I'm just going to kind of take the floor again now. And I think just kind of moving, from topic from what Sarah was saying, there's a lot of KPIs, there's a lot of numbers in there, and what I just want to do now is just go through and show you what we've got available in the breeder app to help you with that. So I think the first place I kind of want to start with is like how Sarah started in her presentation was selecting those who you plan to serve. So this is one report. This is the dam offspring performance report, which from those two, I just pause that a minute, from those first two graphs, what this basically does is this averages all of the offspring of a particular cow, their daily live weight gain, their growth rates. So you can see in terms of genetic potential what the average growth rate of a cow's offspring is. And then if you scroll down further on down that report, what you find now is you find a number of different tabs which all relate to, again, what we're, as part of Suckler Club is those 4 different key periods. So when you click on one of these tabs, that then provides a number of different KPIs, which again are all associated to individual cows. So if you wanted a particular KPI that you were trying to breed either in or out, then again, you can find that KPI and find those weaker or stronger performing cows to manage accordingly. So if this will let me go on to my next slide, technical issues. So basically this slide here is what I've done here is I've taken calving. So let's go on the calving tab. Now on the mobile phone screen, you can see that is the second page of when you log a birth. So when you log a birth, what you can do is you can detail the calving ease, the presentation, the size, the vigor, all of this kind of stuff. And what that then does is taking the birthing difficulty from all of those options, that then produces an assisted calving percentage. So out of all of the calves that a cow has had, we can just see a snapshot. Okay, fine, what is the percent of her calving? So if we take 2 particular cows from this is just one of my demo farms. Number 1038 in the red has had 6 calves in total. 100% have been successfully calved, but 60% of them have been assisted. Compared to 1044 in the yellow, same amount of calves, same percentage, but only 20% have been assisted calvings. So again, I can see from a snapshot, okay, well, 1044 is an easier calving cow. What I can then do is, if we take 1044 as an example cow, what I can then do is I can go onto the web app, and I can search for 1044, select that cow, and then on her information page, there's this offspring tab. And basically what that then does is it just details all of her calvings in a lot more kind of details. So again, it's just pulling all of that information from when we log that birth, and it puts it into this table. So again, what you can see is we've got birth size, we've got birth weight, abnormalities. And again, if I can just, doesn't like it when I've got videos, but if I go to the next slide, he says, not play it again. Okay. There we go. Okay, note to self, don't put videos in anymore. So basically, if we take this offspring tab and we just have a look at this in a little bit more detail, this is that same cow. So this is 1044. What I can see here is, again, that birthing difficulty. Out of the 6 calves that she's had, 2 of them have been moderate assistance. So again, when you log a birth, there's 5 different options of birthing difficulty, from normal to no assistance, all the way up to cesarean, moderate assistance by farmer. You can see there's also one that needed veterinary help, an assistant. So again, there's different levels. So, you know, I could look at this cow and think, well, okay, 20% or 30% has been, you know, she's required assistance, but it might have just been, you know, a little bit of help from me in terms of the offspring vigor hasn't been too badly impacted. But if I then have a look at that other cow, can't remember what her name was, but or number was, but if I were to look at her offspring performance, you know, what I can see is I can see a lot more you know, birthing difficulty. So again, you know, difficult calving by the farmer, moderate assistance. But I can also see from her birth size, there's a lot more calves that are there that are large. You know, the one before had one that was quite small. Birth presentations, a few abnormal. So again, like, you know, I can just see right here, right now, you know, offspring vigor again was kind of impacted. So I can make that snapshot decision and say, right, I'm not going to breed from her anymore. You know, I'll put her to one side. Or, you know, if you've got multiple bulls, then, you know, maybe you put the terminal bull to her and just say whatever she produces is going to be you know, reared for sale or slaughter. So again, it's just, you know, this is where we can get that insight just from logging that bit of information at birth. Just, you know, it just really helps us going forward. So in terms of that, that's kind of the one aspect of the preparation. You know, when it actually comes to the service time itself, what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to add in your bulls and your sire information. So from the settings, we've got this sire information tab here, and when you click into that, this is where you can add in all of your sires. Now, the whole design and the whole point of having sire information in the settings rather than having, you know, animals in your account is that you can put AI bulls in here as well. So you can put in the details of any straws that you've used. And then when you come to, for an example, log an AI activity, it is as simple as the date will always pre-populate to the day that you're logging it. You've got a drop-down menu, so you would see all 4 of these bulls, so you can select the bull. And then what we've got here for logging an AI activity is you can actually create a reminder for a certain number of days to check on bulling activity. So we always pre-populate it to 20 days, but you can change that if you wanted it at 19 or you know, bang on 21, then that's totally up to you. You can change that, and that'll then create an alert and send you a push notification on the morning of when that is due, so that, you know, you get that first thing in the morning. Right, you know, I'll go and check on that cow and see if she's bulling or not. In terms of other kind of activities, so again, if we were logging, we were logging the day when the bull was introduced. Again, we do that on an individual cow basis, but, you know, if we've got 80 cows or however many it is, we don't have to go through them one by one. We can put them all into a group, and then we can just say select all of the cows, and when you click on that manage, then that navigates through the activities. Click on the breeding category, and then you get all of these activities available to you, including the AI, which is the one we just looked at, and then introduce sire, and then obviously remove sire as well. So, you know, the day you put the bull in and the day you pull him out. And again, that is literally as simple as, you know, the date is captured on the day that you log it. You can backdate. If you're doing it a couple of days after or a week after, you can change that to be up to speed. But then again, it is just who the bull is and job done and save. This is an example of when you log a bulling activity. So again, probably not going to do a bulk logging a bulling activity to number of animals. You do that on an individual basis, but again, you've got that ability to create that reminder. Yeah, you know, please, you know, remind me in 20 days, and then I can go and have a look at that cow, go and find her, and see what kind of activity I've got. Great, another video. So Again, for those of you who haven't watched any of our previous webinars, this is probably one of our main reports. So this is what we call the breeding KPI report. And again, this is divided up into those 4 different sections. So the first section is the service period, followed by PD, calving, and then weaning. And for each period, what it does is it generates a number of different KPIs. You can see there on the left-hand side. And then it takes a couple of different KPIs and just puts them into chart format, as you can see. So this report is it's fully populated by all of those breeding activities that you saw on the previous slide. So if we take service then as an example, then so you know, like what Sarah was saying in terms of that total service period, you know, 63 days, you know, that's kind of the target of what we're looking for. You know, you can benchmark yourself against, you know, against that industry target. You can see the number of bulls you've used, but also from logging things like when you see a cow bulling, if that cow is already, if you've already logged a birth against that cow, and then subsequently you log a bulling activity, we can then calculate, you know, an estimated, you know, return to estrus. So, you know, how long is it taking for your cows to come cycling again? You know, and if we're talking about another, you know, KPI target of a calving interval of 365 days, you know, the gestation length won't vary, you know, won't vary that dramatically, but, you know, things like when cows start to come cycling again, when they start to conceive again, you know, that's the kind of stuff that, you know, we as farmers, you know, we can have a certain element of control against. And, you know, it's those kind of figures that it can really kind of heighten our focus on what area we should be looking at. So, you know, again, these are the kind of stuff that we produce in these reports, you know, simply from just logging, right, log a birth, oh, I've just seen her bulling, you know, positive PD test, how many days is she in calf, you know, and then we do all the number crunching for you. And again, you know, you can benchmark yourself against the target, compare against year on year, and, you know, and see where your, you know, potential areas of weakness are, or where your areas of strengths are as well. So that was again just a bit of a whistle stop tour of some of the areas that the breeder, the app can support you with. I'd like to kind of bring my guests back in, if I may, and we'll kind of start a bit of a discussion. Any questions that anyone in the audience has got, then you know, please come through, and you know, this is the time that we will hopefully find the answers for you. But I'll kind of start by kicking off, and I'd like to kind of bring Charlie in now. Charlie, just a really kind of simple one, really. It'd be great for you just to kind of share in terms of your you know, suckle business, and you know, where you want that to go. What kind of areas are you trying to focus on, trying to improve, and how are you kind of trying to achieve that?
Thanks, Chris. Yeah, so we've kind of, this is quite a good one for us. We've really got like an old way of the way we've been doing things, and then we've got the way we're now moving towards, and we're starting to do things. So we're a self-replacing herd. We're a beef suckler herd. We sell at stores anytime between kind of 12 months and 22 months really into the local market. We've always picked our replacement heifers by eye, which, you know, very always worked for us kind of attitude. And we've always been calving it nearer to 3 years than 2. Not at 3 years, but definitely not at 2 years either. We've given our cows plenty of second chances. The bull has run with them the entire summer. They'll calve when they calve. We're predominantly a spring calving herd. We've got a couple of autumn calvers, but, you know, due to a couple of reasons in the past few years, we've been a spring calving herd that has had a calf pretty much every month of the year. So our beef and our sheep, our livestock very much fit around our arable enterprises. So they kind of work how they work, but we're definitely realizing now how much easier things will get for us if we do take more consideration over what we're looking for. So we're picking heifers now at 12 to 14 months based on the records that we have, which are limited until now. Really, it's only been the dam, sire and calving losses that we've taken much of a recording over. But now we're looking at 12 to 14 months. We're picking them at 60 to 65% of their mature weight. We're running Simmental crosses, so we're kind of looking at the smaller end for a Simmental. We don't want anything more than a 700 kilo mature cow. Sometimes, well, a few of them are over that, but we're working towards bringing that down. And one of those ways is by calving them a bit earlier. So we're only bulling them for 6 weeks now, the heifers. So we've actually put the bull in with some bulling heifers today. So 6 weeks time, he'll come out and they'll be PD'd after 3 months, and anything that's not in calf, that'll be sold. So, and with that, we're aiming to keep the best fertility. We're aiming to make sure that we're, like I say, we're not pushing those second chances. If she can't calve, she can't get in calf in those 6 weeks at this age, she's not good enough for us. We're building better records. So we've been using the breeder app for, I think it's about 18 months now. And this is the first calving that we're properly putting those records in. So when we're tagging, we're putting everything in. We're putting in the vigor, the calving ease. Thankfully, we don't, well, a touch wood, we haven't had to touch one yet. I've just jinxed that, haven't I? But so we're putting in everything like that to build up these detailed records so that we can select our heifers on something other than just eye. Our bulls, again, picked by eye. This is one to work on when we buy our next bull. At the moment, we're going to be all right for a couple of years. And we do want a bull that, like Sarah said, we want a bull that will do a bit of both, really. We're selling as stores and they're pretty much on a forage-based diet with homegrown site. They're either out at grass for 6-8 months of the year, or they're coming in and they're either on hay or silage, and then homegrown oats or barley, depending on what's worth less at the time. We'll sell the other one. So they're really not on a lot, and we need cattle that will do on that. They're then going into the market, finish them. It's not our priority, but at the same time, we do have customers that are regular customers of ours at cattle. When we sell as stores, they tend to go to the same places. So, we have a good reputation there. But the bull, we do need to look at touchwood. At the moment, we don't have to touch any of ours when calving. We had a cesarean last year, a big calf, and that was the first cesarean I can remember, in a few years. So we'd like to keep it that way. But building that bank of data, I think the one for us has been the calf figure at birth. So we were losing a couple of calves last year, and we lost a couple last year, and we think it was E. coli. Our cleanliness is pretty tip top, so it's just making sure our colostrum quality is there and they've got the vigor to get up and suckle that colostrum quickly. So building up on that is a really, really important one for us now, because we don't want those losses, and we've avoided them this year. We want to maintain that. We want to make sure that we're picking heifers that were strong at birth, that we're breeding that into our herd. And culling as well. Like I said, we've always been really, really good on second chances. If she doesn't get in calf, we're trying to build the herd up to, we're currently at around 85 cows. We'd like to be nearer the 100 mark. So it's quite hard to cull when you're trying to grow your herd. It's very easy to go, oh, well, she'll be all right next year. It'll be fine. So by kind of working on a bit of maybe a 3-strike rule, depending on what the strike is, we can just be a bit more on it with what we're keeping and what's costing us to keep, rather than being productive for us. So that's a bit where we're at. It's going to be really interesting going forward to use our KPIs. We've started weighing now. So we'll just see where we're at. But it's definitely been an eye-opener for us, this calving.
I mean, it sounds like probably I've got a bit of a bias hat on right now when I say this, but it really sounds like you generally got these industry targets that you're striving to achieve, with the 6 weeks of your heifers, and that's great. But then obviously it's kind of balancing that with understanding well, where are we right now? Where, you know, and again, something that we touched on in a previous webinar was, you know, was culling. As a motive as it is, it's a management tool. It's not just, I think, you know, culling is not just because oh, you know, she's now just had a 12th, 13th birthday, and you're right, you know, I think that's probably about time. It's actually, you know, there's particular traits in animals that you can kind of get rid of and sell her on. So yeah, that's really interesting. One question I did just have, I'll ask you first, Charlie, is I just wanted to touch on the bull side of things. I didn't know whether kind of two kind of questions, I suppose, in terms of like bull fertility. Have you had any bad experiences with, you know, bull fertility in the past, in terms of, you know, when you come to calving, and do you do any sort of kind of bull MOT before the service period, anything like that?
Yeah, so the reason we've been a spring calving herd with a couple of autumn calvers that have had a calf every month of the year is because we had one bull go off his feet a few years ago, and then we had one bull that was had a low semen count. So that really cocked us up. And again, that's really hard to then cull when you can blame it on the bull instead. So it's really hard to find that line between, is it the cow's fault or is it the bull's fault? So for a few years we've been running on, oh, well, you know, we had that bull, and we've been very much like that. But so yes, we have had those issues, which we really need to learn from and start doing the proper bull MOT when it comes to bulling, because at the moment it is just a case of keeping the bull well fed, making sure he's sound on all 4 feet, but there's very little that goes on with regards to fertility testing, for semen testing and checking the testicles. So yeah, that's one we definitely need to learn from. But yeah, it's a hard one to justify. Well, it's not a hard one to justify a call out fee for a vet and the cost of the vet when you think about the fact that you could have infertile cattle, but it's a hard one to push it that way.
Yeah, and Sarah, if I could just kind of bring you in on the same topic. I mean, I was trying to do a little bit of research before tonight, and I found a figure of about 20 to 25% of all bulls are actually subfertile, which when you think about it is huge. So in terms of the whole bull fertility and MOTs, and have you got anything to kind of expand on with that?
Yeah, it's so important. And unfortunately, Charlie's story, you know, I've heard it so many times, and we can get, you know, we can have our nutrition perfect for our cows, we can focus on fertility, but if that bull isn't working, or if there's something wrong with him, it's going to impact on those conception rates. And like you say, you only have one shot at it, and if not, then it just extends that that calving period. But yeah, even if, you know, I've had farmers do the bull MOT on the bull 1 year and then not the next, thinking, oh, well, he was fine then, but actually it shows it can vary between year and year. So it really is important every year, just get it done. I know, like you say, Charlie, it is hard to justify, but if you find that one bull that does have problems early enough, you can really, it gives you a chance to come up with a plan B, like I say. But like you say, Chris, 20 to 25% of bulls are subfertile, which can have a huge impact on your herd. So it is a really important one to check.
Yeah, absolutely. I've also got a kind of another slightly kind of random off-piece question, but still kind of related to the bull. We talk a lot about hybrid vigor, kind of with a predominant focus on our suckler cows. You know, hybrid vigor crossbreeding can help build those less heritable traits. So, you know, things like health, longevity, and also fertility. What is the argument for having crossbred bulls? I always kind of feel like it's not quite as common. We always seem to go down the pedigree route, but is there an argument for having crossbred bulls?
Yeah, to be fair, I don't know, Chris. Like you say, there's a lot of crossbred cows, and we all know hybrid vigor, you know, you get the fertility and whatnot, but you don't see many crossbred bulls. But I don't actually know. It's one I'll have to go away and read up about. But yeah, I don't know.
Just going to chip in there. One of our bulls is a crossbred. So
there you go. Yeah. What is the crossbreed?
He's a Simmental, and then he's a quarter Belgian blue as well. I'm not so keen on the Belgian blue because, like I said about earlier, we don't have to touch our cattle when calving, and with breeding our own replacements, it's something that does scare me a little bit. But yeah, we do run a crossbred bull.
And I suppose, like you say, Charlie, with a crossbred bull, you won't be able to have any EBVs with that bull. So you wouldn't be able to pick up. But it's not fussed them in the past because they've not really used EBVs. So, but yeah, it's conscious of.
Yeah, actually, that's quite a big point. Actually, the lack of
that's it. You wouldn't
having those EBVs.
Yeah, you'd have no genetic information. But yeah, I'm sure in the future we might be able to have that genetic information available for crossbreeds, and that might encourage more people to do it. But at the moment, I think stick with your pedigrees and have a look at your EBVs.
Yeah, no, perfect. That's good. Okay, excellent. Well, I mean, we're 2 minutes over time. There was just one query that came through, which was more kind of aimed at me. So in terms of so the question was all to do with when logging a birth, do we kind of calculate that gestation length like against the cow and also the bull? Well, there's a couple of things just to mention there. We do, so where I showed you, we had the dam offspring report. We've also got the equivalent for all of your sires. So again, you can see the same kind of relevant information against all of your bulls on farm. So and that's not just your stock bulls. That's also if you've bought if you've bought some store animals in, the sires, if they were a named sire, then that will populate that report as well. We are also currently working on a slightly different flow to how you log births in the app. So it will be very much focused from the cow as the starting point. So you'll select the cow and you'll create the calf from the cow, rather than at the minute it's kind of the other way around. So, and I know that Charlie was one of those farmers who gave us a bit of feedback requesting that kind of feature. So Charlie, you'll be happy to know that is on its way. Yeah, okay. So that just kind of leaves me just to say thank you very much once again to Sarah and Charlie for their time this evening. Thank you very much for everyone on the call again for your time this evening. Just like every other webinar, I just wanted to give Sarah the little opportunity, if she still wants to, just to speak about the shape the future vote that AHDB are running.
Thanks, Chris. Yeah, so registration for Shape the Future has now closed, but you can now vote. So for those of you who have registered, you should have got an email which has a link in it. Click on that link and it'll take you through to where you can vote. But please make sure you do so, because it'd be great to hear your views on the work that HDB should be doing. Thank you.
Yeah, no, perfect. No, really, yeah, generally, please have your say, because again, events like tonight, happy to Sarah to come and support us. So yeah, please get involved. So yeah, thank you very much once again, everybody. I'll let you have the rest of your evening. Is it just starting to get dark now, getting on to 8:30? So yeah, 15 minutes a week, I think. So and yeah, so thank you very much, and yeah, we'll see you all again.
Thank you.